back to the mangas again, and this time it is the second entry in the Tigerstar and Sasha series, much to my chagrin. I'd like to first make a very brief address to a common comment from the first entry, which is that Sasha and Tigerstar's extremely shallow and glossed-over relationship makes more sense if you read it as a one-off night on Tigerstar's part that he never really cared about. Aside from this variety of lust not really being an aspect of Tigerstar's character in any other situation, he didn't even express any affection for or, frankly, even interact with Goldenflower on screen, there is a reason this seems implausible in the text, and it is because of how much the comic stresses the passage of time in a montage. Several nights, assumed to be at least several weeks, pass, and Sasha only expresses that she is falling in love in the midsection of this montage. Tigerstar not only listens to Sasha, but tells her about all the intimate details of his experiences in the clans, one detail per night, seemingly, which was framed as both a time-consuming and intimate process. The issue, which is one that exists across every character and relationship in the story, not just used as an intentional choice for this relationship, is that they use description to summarize the most basic events of relationships and characters without giving them much or any dialogue in which to express themselves, their feelings, their goals, or their intimacy. And it makes the entire manga come off as a wiki article rather than a story. I just hope that this is a trend that doesn't continue, or at least that lessens going into the second entry. Also, before I get in too far, the comic page I'll be redrawing today is this one. My patrons actually picked out this page among a couple I was mulling over, and I agree, it is a great moment. But it also means I will be drawing a human later in this video, so oh boy. Prepare for this to not be my best video on a purely artistic basis. Escape from the Forest was released on December 23rd of 2008, a little less than 3 months after Into the Woods and Eclipse, which, as I similarly mentioned in the last episode, is not remotely enough time to make a quality comic. That is, unless all 3 entries of this arc were finished or mostly finished ahead of time and only released months apart to fit in with how the first manga series on Graystripe was released. It also released almost exactly a month after Long Shadows, but mercifully did not release on the same day as any other books, so we can expect at least some amount of extra time was put into this one? Hopefully? The comic is still written by Dan Jolie, and as with the first Tigerstar and Sasha manga, illustrated by Don Hudson, and it includes an anonymous errand note as the previous mangas have had. This one refreshes us on what a horrible guy Tigerstar is for betraying the clans and his mates, along with sharing that this errand's favorite thing about Sasha is her strength of spirit, being willing to see the good in anyone and remain optimistic despite awful circumstances. I think that's at least a nice inference that could be made given her actions, but seeing as my biggest issue with the book was never showing the deeper feelings characters had or the motivations for any actions, this impression isn't one that has come across yet in the manga alone. That said, who's to say it won't change? I guess we can see as soon as we check in with the statistics. Escape from the Forest has a speaking cast of 29 characters, only 4 of which are named. That said, 2 legs that make up a large number of the support lines in this book don't get official names since we can't speak their language, so take that with a grain of salt. The top 5 characters here get 88% of the lines. Pretty low for a manga, especially compared to the 94% the first manga in this series had. We could, therefore, see a larger amount of interpersonal communication or development of characters aside from Sasha, which would be a very welcome addition. Let's see if that happens as we delve into the story. We open up with a copy-pasted panel from the last entry to pick us back up at the moment where we ended, with Tigerstar asking if Sasha will join ShadowClan. Here, she says no, she will not join ShadowClan, Tigerstar, just to make sure we remember the situation and characters, you know. Sasha doesn't want to be feared and thought Tigerstar loved her, which he insists he does, but he also has a destiny and simply must rule the forest. Sasha points out that he is doing much worse, plotting several murders, including against cats who just have connections outside the clans. Cats like her. Tigerstar realizes she was the one spying on them, and Sasha accuses him of just being power-hungry, refusing to be a part of it. Tigerstar says she's making a mistake and that she will always be nothing, before he struts away, leaving her completely unharmed despite her knowing all of his secrets. Nice job, smart guy. Anyway, Sasha is heartbroken over this guy somehow, but still resolved to her decision. Now she just has to figure out who she is without her housefolk or Tigerstar, or the willingness to live all alone. She dreams about Ken, her two-leg, and wakes up sad, leading her to leave. Before she goes, though, she runs into Pine, who smells ShadowClan's scent on her but doesn't recognize it. Sasha lies to him about where she's been and tries to run away, but Pine cuts her off and desperately asks to hunt with her or help her find prey and shelter, even avoiding the clans with her. He definitely wants her to stay with him as a friend, precisely the thing Sasha was missing that was her only reason for not being a loner, but Sasha instead wants to leave and track down Ken. Laser focused on her old man, Sasha avoids every other cat in person as she traverses her old home. Though she is once spotted by a mom two-leg who screams at her, telling her to scram for just showing up in the vicinity. You know, like all two-legs besides a cat's housefolk do when they see a cat 30 feet away. Lost, hungry, on her own, and with absolutely no possible options, she goes into a pet store to hunt down a mouse and gets thrown out when a family tries to adopt her. She finds some of Ken's clothes, but not him, gets chased by more mean two-legs, gets chased out of town by BloodClan, and is left to wander alone until she reaches a boatyard. It's quiet, safe, and smells of fish, so she goes to sleep. When she wakes up, the boat is moving, and she meets a boatman who shoves her into a dark closet, until they get to shore. Then he takes her out and lets her go away wherever she wants. However, Sasha sees him walk off on his own and can tell that he is lonely and sad, just like Ken was, so she sticks around to hunt and sleep. The next day, the family pops by and asks for the boat cat, Sasha of course, and they quickly spot her and capture her with unwanted hugs. The boatman promptly claims Sasha as his own for business reasons, and Sasha notes that he has gentle hands, so it probably won't be so bad. The family seems happy to have her and gives her lots of pets, so she doesn't mind that either. Over the next days, she learns more about the boat's routine and draws in more and more customers who are mostly there not for a boat ride, but just to pet a cute cat. I understand, random tourists. Sasha enjoys sailing and being with the boatman and definitely not being alone anymore. She is happy every day. She has a wonderful time, gets named Brownie by the boat captain, gets lots of love, attention, and fun every day from numerous tourists as well as the captain, and has all the food she could need. So clearly, something is wrong. She is not meant to live the life of a kitty pet, pampered with love and food and warmth and happiness. She needs something much more grim and dangerous and sad to feel fulfilled. I wish I was kidding, or that the book was kidding. Sasha is the happiest she has been since Ken left, and she wants to leave because she's not sad enough. She does, however, hold off for a bit because she knows the captain needs her to sell tickets. Also, a few nights later, criminals break in and try to set fire to the docks, but Sasha foils their plans by crashing trash cans and chasing the intruders into a mess of nets, which happens to trap them and makes enough sound to wake the captain up. Sasha hisses and keeps an eye on the criminals as requested, while the captain calls the cops, and just like that, Sasha has saved the world. Of the boatman. He is very grateful, and invites her into his home to get some ham, though she does prefer to stay outside and hunt. Sasha is very happy to have saved the boatman. She likes life here, even if she isn't willing to go live in a house again. The news reporters appear the next day to film and record Sasha's savior story. She gets put in newspapers, and even more customers are drawn into the captain's business. She loves everything about this life, and she knows she simply must leave it. It is implied she also believes Tigerstar is coming for her, but it really seemed an awful lot like he was content to leave her alone when he made no attempts to hurt her and instead wandered back into his clan calmly. However, he no longer haunts her heart, because she is sure she isn't nothing. She is Sasha. Who is that, from her point of view? I have my own opinions, but she doesn't give us anything but the name. Anyway, Sasha locates a kitten in the river and gets the boatman to rescue them before saving their life with warmth and care and introducing them to the boat life. All three characters go to the captain's house, the kitten is named Patch, and everyone is getting along. Clearly, this means things need to change. Sasha will leave, but at least she won't leave the captain alone now. Oh, and Sasha is pregnant, by the way. The river freezes over for the winter, and the boatman is ready to leave until spring. He, of course, invites both cats to come along in his car, but Sasha tells Pat she isn't going. The captain is sad, but gives her an affectionate goodbye and wishes her the best before driving along with Patch down the road. Sasha wants to raise her kids in the woods, with trees and prey and freedom. Housefolk can't stick around forever, so she needs to be able to survive on her own. Now, she just needs to make it through the snow to a place where they will be remotely safe. And that is where we leave off for this entry. At the very least, I can safely say that I enjoyed Escape from the Forest more than Into the Woods. Aside from Tigerstar being almost entirely absent from the story, a welcome change given his portrayal in the last book, Escape from the Forest stands out for just having dialogue that expresses who the characters are, and characters, I should say, who talk about and display their feelings. As has been an odd trend through almost all of the mangas, the two-leg presence here is much more prominent than it ever is in the main series, and it's honestly very cute a lot of the time. Seeing the captain grow from not caring about cats to seeing Sasha's worth and taking both her, as Brownie, and Patch in as his own is very sweet, especially as it's shown from Sasha's own perspective, with her constantly trying to understand his true intentions and behavior. I could probably argue he has the biggest arc of the book, despite our main character not understanding much or any of his language. One character she does understand is Patch, who comes in very late in the book and doesn't have much time to develop, but in this case, I do not mind. His character is really only meant to be a very young, cute kitty to get excited about all of the things Sasha and the captain show him, and for Sasha herself to both save and take care of in preparation for her own kids. He's not only adorable on his own, but shows us more about Sasha as well. Maybe she has grown to not just want to be taken care of, but to want to take care of others, both the captain and Patch. That bodes well for the inevitable future of her becoming a mother. Sasha's arc here is definitely a little muddled at times, easier to infer based on what we expect from the structure of the story rather than anything this particular tale tells us about Sasha's own feelings or decisions. The main clear idea is that she's trying to find who she is and where she belongs without her loving owner Ken or her abusive ex Tigerstar being around anymore. And what she comes to is a realization that okay. As I said, I can infer things, but the text never states anything directly. It seems like the place Sasha found for herself was as a caretaker and even savior for others. First the captain with his boatyard and loneliness, and then Patch as he was caught in the ocean and needed a mother figure to teach him to adapt to his new home. Sasha mentions or alludes to the idea of being pregnant quite a few times near the end of the story, and it's clear that this factored into her decisions, but I'm not entirely sure how. Ultimately, the complete lack of any threatening conflict in this book makes it hard to understand why Sasha does what she does. She knows Tigerstar is dangerous, even if he didn't react how we would expect him to when she broke up with him and told him she knew all of his secrets, yet she chooses to return to the forest as a way to keep her future kids safe. She wants to be a caretaker and sees the captain and Patch benefit from her care, but chooses to leave them to try again on her own. In fact, she spent the whole opening of the book saying that she never wanted to live on her own and wanted a safe place to live, even though she could take care of herself. But almost immediately after finding the safest, most fulfilling, happiest life she could with the captain, she was already certain that she needed to leave and return to a sad, lonely life. Even as she stayed and ended up saving his livelihood, becoming a celebrity and then saving a young cat who she got along with, she never wavered in her decision to leave. And I cannot for the life of me figure out why. She wants to keep her kids safe, certainly, and she wants to be self-sufficient. I would actually say she was more than self-sufficient at the boatyard, considering she worked as the caretaker for the captain and certainly Patch more than either of them ever cared for her. Her kids would also not only be safe here, but given the chance to grow up with an older brother of sorts and specific life to acclimate to rather than just living aimlessly in the woods somewhere. Surely Sasha doesn't intend on going back to the clans or Tigerstar, considering how dangerous she explicitly knows them to be, so she must plan on her and her kids just living as loners somewhere random. The closest thing I can say is that she mentions wanting her kids to grow up under the trees with prey and freedom, but why does that specific life appeal to her? She has been hunting on her own since she arrived at the boatyard, never accepting cat food from the captain himself, and she is free to go wherever she pleases. The captain made it clear he trusts her and knows she's a wanderer, so if she were to ever go out for a day into a nearby forest for trees and freedom or to teach her kids stalking, she would definitely be allowed to. What is it that she wants that she can't already get in the life she has, and that she can somehow get back in the forest near the clans? Now, I can guarantee, as you always do, someone in the comments will understand the intricacies of Sasha's life completely and have a thorough reason for why she doesn't want to stay with the captain and later Patch, and that is great. I'm glad you've been able to connect with or flesh out this character in a way that makes them more personally appealing to you. My point here is that I am judging what the text actually says, and the text never has an explanation. For the record, if your explanation involves an abusive mindset from Tigerstar, keep in mind that she mentions the Tom precisely once after the breakup, and it is just to say that he no longer holds any power over her. With all that said, I don't actually mind too much what Sasha's reasons are for leaving just yet. If she just doesn't connect with the boatyard for any reason, it's her choice to leave. As long as she doesn't do something patently mouse-brained in the next book, it makes sense that she would want to choose a life for her and her kits on her own terms to make sure she can raise them into the best cats they can be, away from all the danger and always with their loving mother. I guess then the only thing left is to see where Sasha will take her story next in the final manga of this arc. Though that will of course have to wait until we finish off our current main series arc, Power of Three. Still, I promise it won't take long, and we will soon see where Sasha goes next in a future episode of our trip through time.